After viewing this module on data access and ownership, you will be able to understand privacy, security, and intellectual property issues involved in data management. Articulate who can access and who owns your data, and learn ways to control, release, and share your research data. Some kinds of data are not appropriate for sharing, and it is important to consider whether your data should be secured or private. Examples of data that must be kept private include protected health information, personally identifying human subjects information, and any other information that needs to be kept confidential. There are standards for protecting the identities of human subjects. You should be cautious if your research involves human subjects and your data contains any of these 19 identifiers. It is likely that you'll need to de-identify your data before sharing it, or possibly keep your data confidential. It is important to keep in mind, however, that removing these 19 variables does not guarantee against the identification of human subjects. You need to be conscious of other variables that might inadvertently risk the privacy of study participants. There may also be instances unrelated to human subjects data, where you want to keep identifying data hidden, such as locations of endangered plants and animals. Intellectual property rights also need to be considered in terms of how to share, store, and secure your data. Who gets to decide where and how data is stored or shared? And who gets to decide how access is provided to other individuals? A lot of people think of this as a legal ownership issue, but legal ownership is only part of the picture. There's lots of other legal and perhaps formal business arrangements that you need to think about. Professional obligations and personal relationships may also affect your choices. First off, you may be surprised to find out there's not a whole lot of copyright protection for research data. U.S. law does not extend copyright protection to any idea, concept, principle, or discovery, and that includes research data and factual information. So even though your data may have required an extraordinary amount of effort to collect, it's important to remember that copyright protection applies to original creative expression and not just hard work. If you choose to share your research data, others will be able to reproduce it and discuss it elsewhere. Even though copyright doesn't necessarily provide strong protection for research data, patent law may provide protection where ideas are novel, non-obvious, and have some sort of real-world application. Another possible avenue to legal protection is secrecy. If you keep your data secret, you may have protection under trade secret law. So there are some legal avenues for the protection of data. Copyright provides weak protection. Patent and trade secret may have other elements. But there's some other legal issues that aren't necessarily about ownership that you might want to keep in mind. Have you signed any contracts related to your research data? One common thing might be a non-disclosure agreement. Some of your other formal and informal business relationships may also affect what you can do with your data. Your grants may have come with conditions to keep data secure or to distribute it in a particular repository. It's important to be aware of these agreements. Your institutional affiliation may also affect decisions about your data. Some institutions may require broad sharing. Other institutions may require high levels of secrecy. Similarly, institutional intellectual property policies or technology transfer policies may govern what you can do with your data. Finally, your interpersonal relationships are important parts of your whole decision-making process. Your collaborators and colleagues may have their own ideas about the right way to store, share, and provide access to your research data. What are the expectations in your research field, or even in your specific lab? It is important to discuss potential access issues with your stakeholders to develop a common understanding of what, if any, aspects of your data will be made accessible either prior to or after publication of your research. To recap, not all data is appropriate for sharing, especially if your research involves human subjects. Consult standards regarding the protection of human subjects to govern your sharing decisions. Be aware of intellectual property issues when thinking about your data. For more information about copyright or intellectual property concerns, you can contact the library's copyright librarian, Nancy Sims.